Well, of course, the big debate for us in Britain at the moment is the EU and various other European countries. I've made it very, very plain on my timeline that I object strongly to the intervention of Obama, the American puppet president. Let's see how that went, shall we? Let's just call them the controllers for now. They have a lot of names. Illuminati. Other names. We'll make you the first black president of America. Now here are your instructions. Follow them closely. Follow them to the letter. And you will have all the power you ever dreamed of, except, of course, actually you won't. It's our power, and don't you ever forget it. The same controllers, of course, have got Cameron and Merkel. Although not much of a lure in being a white male upper class Prime Minister, because most of them have been, although there have been some notable, I think, Labour exceptions. She says, trying to think back. Now here comes America's next president, and yes, I am prepared to put money on this, because I think it's already a done deed. Doesn't matter how many people feel the burn. Doesn't matter how many Republicans would like Trump to be in. It's going to be Hillary. And here's the deal. You will be America's first woman president. Now here are your instructions. Follow them closely. Follow them to the letter. And you won't get assassinated. And you'll have lots of money. And you will appear to have power. Same deal as Obama, really. As far as I'm concerned, Hillary is in the bag. And the election will count for nothing. No more than it counted here in Britain in 2015. It was going to be Cameron, no matter what we voted, no matter what the people wanted. And of course that's not so difficult, because the first past the post system is never going to work when there are more than two parties. Or at least it's not going to work democratically. Take UKIP with 4 million votes, for example, and 1 seat. Still, that wasn't entirely the problem. The problem was that it had already been decided that Cameron was going to be in again to finish what he'd begun. I do have some little questions, like, why is a psychopath IDS leaving? Well, why did he leave the Conservative Party? Well, rat leaves sinking ship. He knew what was coming. Cameron's offshore accounts were about to be revealed. Cameron's going down. So IDS left the ship. It also bothers me that IDS actually backs leaving the EU, and the likes of Boris Johnson as well, and Gove, and all the other Tory psychopaths are backing leaving the EU. That bothers me. Because from where I'm sitting, the EU was, and always has been, Hitler's wet dream. It's what he wanted, and it's what he's got. And the Nazis who were encouraged to walk into America and Britain and carry on the good work, had this as their aim, the EU. And they have it. Now that they have it, why would they want to leave it? Because if ever there was a dyed-in-the-wool Nazi, it's IDS. Dear God Almighty. The perfect Aryan psychopath. Why does he want to leave the Nazi wet dream? Should I be worried? Is it true that we will be little islands left with no protection whatsoever from the one-party elite who will soon be ruling us, as we lose our freedom of speech and our freedom of assembly and our freedom full stop. Is it true that we will have no human rights left? Well, we don't appear to have many anyway, unless, whoops, here I go again, unless, of course, we're Islamic immigrants and economic refugees, which is to say, invaders from other foreign parts who will never integrate and have no intention of integrating. These people have human rights, but I can't see that the rest of us have. We haven't for 6 years. For example, those of us who rent privately will know that, unless we have money, we can't get help against our landlords, no matter what laws our landlords break, because legal aid has gone. A very, very basic human right. To have a home that is fit for habitation is not on the books in Britain while we are part of the EU, and has not been for 6 years. And the EU has not stepped in to help. In fact, at one time, let me see, who was it? Amnesty International was stepping in to help us. The organisation we normally think of as helping people in third world countries, and of course, living under dictators, which we are, but nobody seems to notice. And what else is the EU, by the way? Well, it's the first continent to fall under the New World Order. I use the word fall in both its senses, because it was the flagship continent for the New World Order, and it may well fall. It may well fall. Panic stations, quick, bring in Obama, the American puppet. I wonder what David Icke has to say about this. I should have a listen, or a read even. I haven't read a book for nearly 3 years. I used to read one a week at least. And of course, that is the idea of all this technology, isn't it? FB and so on and so forth. We will stop reading. We will stop informing ourselves. We are informed by what passes through our newsfeed if we don't watch TV, which I don't. And anyone who believes what they read in the papers, try reading an article about yourself. Try reading your reported speech and see if it bears any resemblance whatsoever to what you actually said or to what you actually did. It won't. Actually, I'm thinking of a very simple little example. It wasn't any... Well, no, it wasn't a big deal. I saw a big cat in Southampton, on the outskirts of Southampton, the very outskirts, a very wooded area, in January 2003, I think it was. And Julie reported it to the newspapers. I'm not sure whether it was a panther or a jaguar, actually. Or a leopard. The consensus, other people saw it too, apparently. I found the article just the other day. I was about to throw it out. The consensus was that it was a panther. I think I'll go with that, except that at one point I did see it under a streetlight, and it appeared to have gold patches. And what actually happened was that the thing was stalking me, and I felt its presence. Something made me look over my shoulder, and this black shadow was stalking me, and it most definitely was not a dog. And on closer inspection, looking at its face and its crouch, I could see that it was, in point of fact, a big cat. Not a large tabby. mean something like a leopard. And I hadn't been drinking, and I knew I wasn't seeing things. Actually, in all, I saw it on 3 occasions. You'd think that you might give up walking around alone in that area at 3 a.m. While the thing is around, but I thought it would move on, and it didn't, not immediately. 3 times I saw it, and 3 times I survived. Lucky me, but I didn't turn and run. Do not turn and run. Because at that point you become prey. Anyway, I duly reported this, and it did follow me into a very bushy, well-treed area, which I couldn't avoid. I had to pass through it to get to my front door. And then it crashed off into the trees and vanished. According to the paper, it came crashing out of the trees and then stalked me. Oh, good God. If a paper can get everything asked backwards, it will. Whether it's a simple matter or a complicated one. Don't trust them. EU, New World Order. Out or in? Well, I'm still voting out, simply because I do see it as part of the New World Order. Well, I know it's part of the New World Order. And it was Hitler's wet dream. That, and the fact that I would like Britain to be a sovereign nation again and make its own laws, and not have most of them made for us by unaccountable Eurocrats. I also want to close our borders, and I make no bones about it. At the moment, the Trojan horse is being wheeled in. It has been for a long time. That was the purpose of the channel. So should we have anything to fear, though, if we leave the EU? What about our human rights? Are they going to be worse or better? I would say no different, because we've been losing them steadily, for the last 6 years anyway. At least 6 years.